You're listening to the Trading Bear Podcast. This is episode 18, The Daily Show.
Mystery player. Position.
Defender.
Start price.
£2.10.
Current price.
£5.36.
PB.
34p.
MB.
27p.
Dividend yield.
11.4%.
Welcome back, thanks for joining again. And in the news today, the share split announcement will be made on Monday. That's Monday the 18th of March at 7pm. Now that announcement will come via the official Football Index blog, and as soon as that announcement is put up, the market will be shut down for 30 minutes and it will be reactivated at 7:30. This is for the purpose of giving everyone the chance to read the update and then act upon that information as they see fit. It's worth pointing out as well that during this half-hour period, you will still be able to withdraw and make a deposit. You just won't be able to actively buy and sell players. So 7pm, the big announcement. In other big news, the European draws were also made for the quarterfinals and semi-finals of the Champions League and the Europa. And in that draw, Liverpool have achieved what is on paper at least the easiest draw, and they will face Porto, Manchester United, entertain Barcelona, and it's an all EPL affair with Spurs taking on Man City. Elsewhere in Europa, Arsenal face Napoli and Chelsea play Slavia Prague, the conquerors of Seville, last night. And in today's final piece of news, FIFA have approved a revised 24-team Club World Cup due to start in 2021, despite top European clubs, Manchester United being one of them, saying that they would boycott the tournament. Interesting to see how this one plays out in the future. Let's have a look at today's risers and fallers then. The market in general remains fairly flat ahead of the share split announcement on Monday, but there's been a couple of players that have risen in value today, and they are Phil Foden and Luka Jovic. Let's start with Phil Foden then, at Manchester City, and he's gone up 18p today and he now sits at £6.19. The main reason for this is the FA Cup returns this weekend as Manchester City travel away to Swansea in the 5:20pm kickoff on Saturday. Foden also saw his European action on Tuesday as Manchester City thrashed Schalke 7-0, in which he scored his first European goal in the 78th minute of that match. Guardiola then faced questions as to how he's not played in more and how he hasn't been involved in more matches, and Guardiola's response was simple. He reminded the gathered press that he was still only 18 years old and he has actually played in 23 matches this season. He then went on to say, as long as he's in the reins of Manchester City, that Phil Foden won't be going anywhere. So a big pre-season coming up for Phil Foden then, and expect to see him more involved next season. Today's other riser then is Luka Jovic, and he's gone up 12p to £6.06. The 21-year-old Serbian striker, who currently plays for Frankfurt in the Bundesliga, has tucked away 15 goals in 17 starts, as well as another 7 in Europe. Now, Jovic is obviously famous in October when he became the first player to benefit from the G&A, the in-play dividends, and as luck would have it for Football Index, the very night they introduced G&A, Jovic scored 5 goals. Now, before that, he wasn't really that well known in the Football Index universe, but certainly that attracted attention to himself. And since that night, on the 19th of October, his price has only gone one way and has gone up and up and up. It had been dipping slightly recently, as he hasn't been knocking in braces and hat-tricks, but he did score the crucial goal in the European tie against Inter Milan on Thursday night, a match that Frankfurt won 1-0, both on the night and in terms of the aggregate score, and Jovic's goal in the 5th minute was the difference. Now, the reason why he's gone up 12p is partly due to the European and making it through to the quarterfinals, but he's also been heavily scouted by the Barcelona management team, and this is according to the Italian transfer guru expert Gianluca Di Marzio. They have been apparently scouting him for a while, but this was the first firm evidence that they are seriously interested in buying Jovic as a replacement for Suarez. Now, the deal's a little bit different to a normal transfer, as Jovic is currently on a 2-year loan to Frankfurt from Benfica. Frankfurt will almost certainly make this a permanent signing for a fee which is rumoured to be a bargain £6 to £8 million. If Barcelona's interest does come to fruition, Frankfurt would then immediately sell him on for a very handsome profit indeed. The biggest losers in this deal then would appear to be Benfica, selling one of Europe's hottest properties for just 6 to 8 million. Today's fallers are also linked to the Europa matches, and we have two players from heavy previous favourites, Seville. Seville then went out in a pulsating match against Slavia Praga and lost the game 6-5 on aggregate, losing eventually to a strike in the 119th minute. So of course when a team is knocked out, especially a heavily backed one like Seville, the most popular players are going to face a crash. And this is exactly what happened to two popular players in the form of central midfield player Ava Banega and fox-in-the-box striker Ben Yedder. Banega fell 31p and now sits at £3.24, and Ben Yedder fell 24p and now sits at £2.19. One silver lining from Ben Yedder is that it now appears as if he is now the first choice penalty taker. And of course on the other side of that coin, it now means that Banega has lost penalty duties. So certainly it seems now that Banega is now one for next season, and I don't expect to see his price rise until August of next year. The one slight caveat to that though is of course if dividends increase by more than people are expecting on Monday's announcement. Let's have a look at some of your questions now then. And today's first question comes from Harry Judd in Swindon, and Harry asks, if as rumoured dividends are increased, who do you expect to rise most on their announcement? Now multiple variables to consider here, Harry, but I'm going to form my response based on a 10% dividend increase in both PB and MB. So based on this small increase, I'd expect the big hitters to receive attention first, so your Pogbas, your Neymars, your Eden Hazards, and then after the initial flurry on the first 5 minutes, looking further down the PB scale, your Thiagos, your Kimmichs, and your Virgil van Dijks, who will be fresh in the memory based on his performances this week. It could then also have a play on those players who attract MB, who perhaps go a little bit unnoticed. Players like Harry Kane, Mesut Ozil, who win more than their fair share of MB but go unnoticed compared to your Pogbas and Neymars. So worth keeping an eye out for those two in particular. Today's second question comes from Steve on In Nick's Game, and Steve wants to know, how would you build a portfolio? Do you spread your money across different players or buy a larger amount of shares in a smaller number of players? Steve then goes on to state that he currently has 19 players and 65 futures. The answer to this question, Steve, all depends on two things. The first being your personal strategy and the second being your budget. I would suggest that the bigger your budget, the more diversified you are, and hence the more players you have in your portfolio. And vice versa for a smaller budget. Anything under £1,000, I would say you don't really want to hold any more than 10 players. Let's say you were holding 20 players with a budget of £1,000 or under, then that by definition means you're holding some players at a less than a total value of £100. Now that might be great if you're just in for Football Index for a bit of fun, and certainly never invest more than you can afford to lose, and by lose, I mean lose it all. But you also want to see your investments that you've hopefully taken the time to have good reasons to buy to return a good value. And if you've got £50 in a player and they've played really well and they've gone up 10-20%, then you're looking at your player now being worth £60. And that might be great for you, and if it is, superb stuff, keep on that. If it's not though, you want to reduce your portfolio. So yes, you're exposing yourself to more risk as you're involved with less players, but at the same time it gives you a greater chance to get that capital appreciation going up quicker. Now this leads to the second part of the question and your own personal strategy on how you want to go about making money on Football Index. If you're all about getting the quick capital appreciation on a day trade for example, then you only want to invest in 2 or 3 players, invest a large amount of your investment in those 2 or 3 players that you've identified, you've researched, and then hope 7 or 8 out of each 10 decisions come good. If you prefer a slightly less active and more long-term approach, and you're looking at purchasing players for 4, 5, 6 weeks possibly, then you want to diversify a little bit more. You might have 2 or 3 long-term holds, 3 or 4 medium-term holds, and then another 3 or 4 G&A type players, those sort of players that you're going to hold for 2 or 3 weeks and then get rid. So how best to build your portfolio, Steve? Well, I would personally start with 10 players, increase your investment month by month, so you're slowly building up your portfolio. Your basic foundations of any portfolio should be strong PB and MB holds, and as to whether or not this should be more PB focused, more MB focused, or more in-play dividends focused, well, we'll find out more news on Monday. And that's it for this episode. You can download and subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify and Podbean. Head over to the website to send in a question, tradingbearpodcast.com. Alternatively, you can find me on Index Gain or Twitter under the name Trading Bear. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for the Mystery Player.
Mystery player. Position.
Defender.
Start price.
£2.10.
Current price.
£5.36.
PB.
34p.
MB.
27p.
Dividend yield.
11.4%.
Trading Bear. Today's mystery player was Virgil van Dijk.